Well, it's a difficult question, okay? But if we put it in terms of finance, it costs a lot. I have to admit that it costs a lot of money. It will cost a lot of money to invest on Assumption. Forget about the construction itself. Just getting there to bring all the materials for you to do something on that island. It can be of any size. It's going to cost you money. So how many of our local is willing to do that? I don't know. It would be difficult for me to answer.
No, I
you know?
mean, maybe the government can be innovative and take a new initiative, a new approach, and actually empower our country and our people.
That is exactly what I was saying from earlier on, is that we could have turned this into an ecological project, an ecological destination, where the island is kept in its natural state, and you create that form of tourism around it. So you open the island to visitors so that they can see, for example, the history of the island. Okay, people are looking for such adventure. People can come and make documentary about the whole process. We can have a new form of tourism that doesn't have to impact the ecosystem around the island as it will with this proposed development. Another thing that could have been done, we have people who are longing for research, to do research on such a location. We have a lot of international organizations that are looking for places with ecological value and the way they contribute to ecosystem services, to ecosystem support. For example, we have Aldabra next door. We have the UNESCO World Heritage. How Assumption is supporting that particular UNESCO heritage? How important is the whole Aldabra group to the Seychelles? There's a lot that can be done. There's a lot of innovation that could have been proposed with minimum impact. Now, a lot of people, I've heard this argument that they're going to be pumping water not in the sea, but they're going to dig well and pump from the well. I ask myself the question. Number one, you're going to pump from the well. Desalination, you have the brackish water that remains and has to be rejected. It has to be released. Where are you going to release it? In the soil, or it's going to be released in the ocean? Now, for those who know Assumption, the reef at Assumption is not that far and it's not that extensive. In the part of the island facing towards the south part, you have some reef, and at the north, I think it's north part, you have what we call défoncé. I mean, it's just deep wherever you are on the island. It's just deep ocean, and you have fish. There's a whole ecosystem around the island, and you have a whole variety of life that are enjoying the quality of the water that is found in that area. With desalination, I know the ocean is quite big, and this is probably going to be one of the arguments. The ocean is quite big, and whenever we put the water back into the ocean, it's not going to have that much of an impact. How do we measure that? Okay, what kind of assessment are we are doing now?
It has an impact. Look at what happened at Bird Island.
Exactly. So whenever you change the salinity of the immediate ecosystem, the minute you dump the water into that very location, you're changing the chemistry of that part of the ocean, and that is going to be changed in a constant manner. So when that happens, obviously it's going to disturb the functioning of that part of the ecosystem, and it won't be good for the country. So that's on the ecological environmental side of things. Remember, you have sewage as well. You need to have water treatment. So where do you put all those wastewater? Okay, Aldabra is complaining about the potential transfer of invasive species to Aldabra. I mean, it's a genuine concern. It's a genuine concern, and I think just ignoring the fact that these are pertinent issues, it's already a biosecurity risk, because just by ignoring it, we run the risk of seeing ourselves being negligent of things that are happening on the island. Alaba has a very small team of people who does the biosecurity. I know because I've been there. They do it well, but with the influx of potential, the increase in population on the island, and having an airstrip that receive airline straight from overseas to land on Assumption as an international airport, that magnified the risk by an order of magnitude, and the impact that this could have, we don't know, and when it happens, it is potentially going to be quite difficult for us to resolve. And that's on the environment ecological aspect. Now let's look at the human, the social part of things. We're not going to be able to control everything that happens on the island. We can say whatever we want. It's going to be almost impossible to control. Why I say this? Already on the airport that we have here on Mahe, our international airport at Point Lari, whenever a flight comes in for the people who have this immunity, we can't even dig into the cargo. We can't do anything. There's not much you can do. Okay? And now imagine you take the scenario where on Mahe, you can do the bare minimum, okay, to check the cargo of these dignitaries, these VIPs. Now imagine you put them on an island that is like really far and no eyes on them. What do we think is going to happen? I heard from the news that originally they intended to have this project on Kwe TV. In my views, Kwe TV would have been perfect for this kind of project, because Kwe TV does not much in terms of ecological importance, because the island has been exploited and used for many years, and there's been always activity on Kwe TV, and sort of like we can accept such development on Kwe TV. But why not Kwe TV? Because it's 45 minutes from Mahe.
Well,
I fly. It's accessible.
Could it be because of the ocean? Is it because of
No.
the ecosystem in Aldabra? Because we see the way that the project is being marketed, and the name they are using is Aldabra.
I know, and I don't believe that. I think the reason why the place is being used is because of its isolation. It's far away. This is it. I mean, for me, I don't think Aldabra is the main thing. I don't think this, the people who are coming there really are looking for scientific thing, ecological thing. So that's the point. I don't think it's because of Aldabra, of its unique nature. I don't think it's because of the scientific importance of Aldabra. I think it's because of the ecology of Aldabra. I think it's just because of the resources that region possesses, and the fact that it's far away and the privacy is guaranteed and nobody's going to come there to look into the business. But on Kwe TV, that is possible. On Kwe TV, you can take even a twin otter can land on Kwe TV. So the accessibility is much more on Kwe TV. So that's not convenient. And also there are other activity that is being proposed on Kwe TV, for example, agricultural activity, prawns farming. So there are people around. So privacy is not necessarily guaranteed. So I think this is the reason why this was not done on on Kwe TV, which would have been perfect, in my opinion. So it will remove a lot of pressure, of stress on our population now fighting to save once again Assumption from potential risk and save the country from potential embarrassment in the future. I won't say the country is an embarrassment, to be honest. I will say that the country is represented by a head of state and is represented by members of National Assembly and represented by the justice system. But the majority of the people of Seychelles are out there. A majority of people of Seychelles are not in favor of this. So I think when it comes to whether the country as a whole are trading our natural environment for greater benefit, so-called, I don't think that's the case. I think the country is in a state of I don't know how to describe it, but in a state of hostage, I put it this way. We see things, but there's really not much you can do. And I think this is where the problem is. We have institutions within Seychelles that is supposed to stand for against this kind of situation, to ensure that the constitutional rights of each Seychellois is taken care of. If there's something that the country is not in favor of, if there's a situation where the majority of people in this country are not in favor of, okay, and that's what democracy is about. It's about what the majority say should go, you know. But the majority, it's my opinion that the majority of Seychelles doesn't want this project. Number one, I'm a scientist, and whenever I do any project, I always think of the trade-off. When I do this project, what benefit will it bring to either advancing a technology or advancing a methodology, and what damage is the outcome of what I do is going to have on the soil, on the water, on the ecosystem in general. So I need to balance this trade-off. So when you see that a project, in the case of what is happening on Assumption, when you look at the trade-off, what are we trading and what are we getting in return? Which we're giving our island for 70 years. That's number one. You're building villas, which will need all sort of amenities to run it. You're going to have to produce electricity. You're going to have water treatment. You're going to have to provide leisure. You're going to have to provide entertainment on the island for the people who are visiting the island. It's already proposed to have stable horses on the island. So you're already thinking of the entertainment for those who are living on the island. To build the island, we have St. John on the island that will need to be broken to fill those massive holes potentially on the island, to ensure that the place is safe for whoever is using the island. When you pump the water, you're going to have to let go of the waste in the ocean. I don't think they're going to let it go in the soil, because it's going to contaminate the soil extensively, and you don't want to have that. So the idea, obviously, will have to let it go into the ocean. Hopefully, it dilutes completely, and who knows, nature knows how to take care of itself. I don't know to what extent that this can happen. So when you look at all the trade-off, the environmental impact, and then you take the social aspect, we know that these people, when they come, they don't come by themselves. They bring families, they bring friends, okay? And we know that these are VIPs. And whatever they bring in the country, you can't put your hands on it. It's almost impossible. So the risk of seeing situation that will potentially embarrass us in the news media out there, it's high. Okay? We are trading our beautiful natural ecosystem to build an artificial ecosystem on it. We are disturbing an environment that was, though harsh, though brutal as it is, but yet it's how nature has designed it. So when we trade all that and we look at the return now, what are we getting in return? Pollution. We're getting potential risk of invasive species moving from one side to the other, Aldabra and all. We're having the risk of people interfering with nature, the type of who will be fishing out there. We have the risk of having our people who uses the area potentially to not have access. We're having an airport that is likely to bring in our country people that we don't want to be in our country. So in terms of revenue from that project, we know that whenever a hotel is built in Seychelles, the people who build those establishments have the right to expatriate, to have all their money that they generate to go back into their country of origin. 100% of that they're allowed to take out. How much of that money is going to be paid and stay in Seychelles? We don't know, and it's unlikely that it will be a significant amount. So at the end of the day, when I look at the trade-off, we are giving away diamonds, but we're getting back graphites, which is still carbon, but of less value. I watched the interview, and I always said to myself, because I've been in this position before, I said to myself, I don't really worry about what comes out of the mouth of the people. What I really care about is the people who are watching it. How many of us have watched this documentary with an objective mindset and say, look, this is my country. I should care for it. And I want to make sure that I protect it. And what Miss Murray did justify the need for us to care a bit more of our country and find reason to protect it. Obviously, she's a very good journalist, probably one of the best we have at the moment in terms of the things that are produced. And I appreciate her work very much. I don't think she intently wants just to expose anyone. She's after facts. She wants to make, she never takes anything that you tell her and just run with it and believe. And that's what journalists should do. When I say something to you, you should just take my word for it. You should go out there and find the truth and establish what the person have told you and just confirm whether that's correct. I think she did a good job. And I think this helps to advance our democracy and our pursuit for the truth. I think she's doing a good job. And the other thing I really appreciate is that the fact that we do have a board in Seychelles that makes decisions. Sometimes I don't put when I look at the CEO of IDC, I don't blame him when he makes decision. I look at it, I try to be objective at everything. He makes decision as a CEO. He has a job to do. And he does this job, and he must do this job in relation to the board that is supposed to be guiding him advising him. And I said to myself, if he does anything that he does, for me, when I look at, just to be objective about the subject matter, if he does anything, he must do it in line with what the board allows him to do. And I asked myself this question. He is the accounting officer, yes. But what has he received from the board? On this board sits the government. Remember, IDC is a company registered under the Companies Act, but the majority shareholder, the only shareholder, by the way, is the government. So sometimes when I point a finger, I have to be very careful. And I have to realize, oh, yes, he's making that decision. He's going forward. He must be getting permission from somewhere. I mean, I have not known Mr. Savi for a long time. But one thing I've learned when doing the working on with IDC for the QHV project is that this gentleman will act on things where some form of permission is provided. He's very careful. He's very meticulous in the way he does things. And I ask myself the question, who is giving the decision for this process to go through? I've learned not to point a finger. I've learned that during the process of the QHV project. I've learned that very well. And whenever I see him doing anything, I always say to myself, he's doing it because he has some form of go ahead.
Absolutely.
And that is very important. And when we as a country now, we decide, we raise our voice. If we raise our voice to Mr. Savi, I don't think we're raising our voice to the right people. If you want to address an issue with your phone, let's say you use Apple, okay, it's an engineering problem. You're gonna go to the CEO of Apple. The CEO is going out there on the stage and promote the phone because he is being told that he can go and promote the phone because the phone is ready. There's a group of people that makes this decision first before he can go on the stage and promote that phone. So I'm very careful in pointing finger.
I love that, and I think people need to hear that.
People need to understand that.
Yeah.
You know, and we often, I mean, he often takes the blow for it, and I've known him for a very short while. Not that I'm giving him any credit, not that I'm trying to protect him or anything, but I have to be objective about this because I know better.
So who do we hold accountable for our environment and the protection of our environment? For example, what's happened at Entados?
Yeah, the shareholder. I always blame the shareholder.
Is that the foreign investor?
No. The foreign investor cannot invest in Seychelles if the shareholder doesn't allow him.
Shareholder is who?
The shareholder is the government of Seychelles.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly my point. You see? So the government, as it stands, comes in with a set of policy, with a set of program that they are to implement, and the people who implements these things, we should not hold them necessarily accountable for everything that is happening. You know, some people might question more and might be more reluctant to do certain things when they are told to do, but some people will be very eager to go out there and perform and meet the objective of their mandate. Now, if you take, for example, I don't work for IDC. Okay, I don't have anything with IDC. If I were to take the mandate, it says 1 hotel per island for the outer island. Right there, we've given IDC permission to build a hotel. on any of the island under his responsibility. The design and way of doing the hotel, it's up to what is decided and as per EIA. That can be reversed. If the board says to Mr. Savvy, look, we don't want you to develop hotel on island X, island Y, island Z because of its ecological, the setting where it is and how it's been placed within the international fora. It should not be touched. It should be left as such. That would be a request from the board, and Mr. Savvy has to follow. And the island of Seychelles falls under who? Who is the patron of all the island of Seychelles? If he says, comme dit en français, si c'est lui qui est le patron, dit non. Mr. Savvy cannot do anything.
So who is le patron?
We all know that. The patron of all the island in Seychelles is the president. Okay? And that is clear to me that if this gentleman is moving forward, because he's allowed to move forward, and I cannot point a finger at him. It would be unfair for me to point a finger, because I ask myself the same question. If I was in his position as an execution, as an executive officer, my job is to execute what the board say, what the program say, what the protocol allows. Because at the end of the day, when he finishes his tenure in office, what they're gonna do? They're gonna open the book and say, Mr. Savvy, you were supposed to build a hotel on each of our islands and have an economic setting for each of the island so that it becomes sustainable. That was a transformation program after Seychelles stopped the guano, copra, the agriculture program on all the island. It became moved toward tourism, and that has been approved. It's there. It's there in the manual for IDC to do it. So if he doesn't do it, when his tenure finish and say, now we need to look at what you have done and say, oh, you didn't do that, you didn't do that, you didn't do that, you didn't do that. Oh, because I was protecting the environment. It's not in his mandate. So he fails. And I know that this is someone who doesn't like failure. He doesn't like to fail. So now, once again, the people who are listening, I'm not trying to justify Mr. Savvy. I'm not saying he's an angel, he's perfect. I'm not saying that. I'm only saying that he's doing what he's allowed to do. And the people who gave him the power to do that, these are the ones we should question. Another thing I want to put to the viewers. I feel sorry for the CEO of SIF because she's now been bombarded. She's been, in my eyes, she's been victimized for no reason of her own. Her demand is genuine. Her concern is genuine. Okay, I didn't appreciate the comment that Mr. Savvy made when he was asked a question and he referred to Aldabra. Look at the infrastructure on Aldabra. I think he knows better that Aldabra is a research center. And yes, there's a need for improvement on the infrastructure, but the extent as to how you develop the infrastructure should be minimum impact. And the infrastructure on Aldabra is not that bad. I've been there. I've seen it for myself. And so I didn't really appreciate that remark. But I can understand under circumstances that he made that remark. Always trying to be objective on the subject matter. But when it comes to the CEO of SIF, I really feel bad for her. Because you know what? She was not put in the loop for the EIA. The whole process of it and how things are gonna evolve. But you know what? Who was in the loop of all this? The chairman.
Who is the chairman?
I will leave that for the audience to figure out. Okay, we all know who the chairman is. He's on TV all the time. And the chairman of SIF is a member of the board of trustees of ICS, Island Conservation Society. And who did the EIA, the Environmental Impact Assessment? ICS. So the chairman of SIF, he's a member of board of trustees of ICS. ICS is doing an EIA that must receive the blessing of the board of ICS. And the same person is saying to the audience that he was not aware of what was being proposed, of the whole process of the EIA, what's in there. Wow. I feel sorry for the CEO of SIF. She finds herself in the middle of something that she didn't create, but now find herself being ridiculed in some ways. And I wish her the best. I know she's a very strong person, and she's done a lot for Seychelles, environment. And I really hope that she finds courage to continue the work that she has done. But I feel really bad that she finds herself in this situation.
I think a lot of members of public, their problem with a lot of these environmental organizations is that these environmental organizations are meant to represent the environment and the protection of the environment. And I think a lot of people feel like they don't do enough when it comes to standing up for our environment with the government and these big developers. Can you speak a little bit more on this?
Look, in Seychelles, what are the environmental organizations? We have the Ministry of Environment. We have SIF. We have, well, that's it. So what SIF is doing right now, can they do more? What will be the outcome of doing more? We don't know. I don't know. I cannot say. But should they have done more? Still difficult to answer. I don't know how much they knew. I don't think they are in all the meetings that is organized by IDC. So once again, the people that should have done more is the chairman, who has the first-hand information. And that will have probably helped SIF to be more proactive, maybe involve more in the project, and maybe would have got a better outcome of the whole situation. Now, if you're referring to environmental organization, I don't see how they can do more. Honestly, when we take NGOs, for example, let's take NGOs. In Seychelles, the biggest problem is having the capacity to work collectively. We have several NGOs in Seychelles, several environmental NGOs. I don't know how many. And on this subject matter, I didn't hear much. And maybe I understand why. Maybe the big question is, why should we? They've done a massive fight. I remember the Preserve Seychelles team. Massive push against the military base. And we've ended up where?
Right back to square one.
Worse than square one. Worse. Back then, you will have a barrack, you have a landing strip, airplane, maybe training on the island, military officer who probably are better at following order. And we've now in a position where we are much worse. We still have a massive airstrip that will receive airplane of big size that could land on the main island. And we're going to have now to provide entertainment for those on the island. So it's much worse.
I think when I ask a few environmentalists about why they don't do more, they say that they can't. Their hands are tied because they are blocked. The government blocks them, and a lot of them depend on their good relations with the government for funding and for operations. So where do we leave this, Barry? Where does this go? What do the people of Seychelles do to stand up for and defend our precious resources?
The only place where this can be solved, I want to say this, and I want to look at the audience. The only place that this can be resolved is in the National Assembly. Reason why I say this is where the voice of a nation is heard. And it cannot be done without the voice of the National Assembly. This is where the project should have been scrutinized. This is where the project should have the go, no go. This is where the board of IDC should have been summoned to come and give an explanation. This is where the people should have raised their voice and say no to any project. Go back in the 15 Logis National Assembly. The 1510 National Assembly did a very good job in stopping the military base. It was because of the National Assembly and the work done by Prince of Seychelles. Their hands was forced in the direction because Prince of Seychelles was doing something excellent on the street, and the National Assembly concurred with what was being done, and that led to a victory for the environmentalists. So now we don't have a Prince of Seychelles.
So what can we do? What can the people do?
I'm sorry, but at this point in time, I don't think there's much that we will be able to do to stop this project. I'm sorry if I will disappoint people with what I'm saying. I don't think there's much we can do to stop this project. As Mr. Savi has mentioned, the project will go on, and I think the construction is due to start less than a month times now, as per the interview that I was listening to. I don't think there's much we can do. So it's probably the question we need to ask is, how do we turn such bad situation now into something positive? That's what we need to work on now. How do we make the people who goes there become more responsible? How do we make them more accountable? How do we get resources to repair the damage that will be done? And how do we set the fence around the impending danger to our ecosystem? How do we sustain the harm that can be done to our ecosystem as a result of this project? I think this is the question we need to ask at the moment. Whether the project will happen, I can guarantee you it will happen. Not that I'm in favor of. I'm 100% not in favor. I would rather see Assumption remain as is. That's me. But what I say can't change what's going to happen. My biggest concern, to be honest with you, is where do we go from this point? What kind of protection hedge do we put around this whole project on Assumption to ensure that, one, the damage is minimized, the ecosystem is protected, and we get maximum benefit in terms of revenue for us to, number one, repair any damage done, and how do we protect the integrity of Aldabra? That's a lot of work to do. Work that we didn't have to worry about before, but now we have to. As people, famous saying that go and said, the baby is already here. The baby is already born. It's not whether the mother is gonna give birth. It's a 9-month due, and baby is coming. Now it's not about how, whether the baby is coming. It's how we take care of that baby to make sure that when it's growing up, it doesn't step on us, it doesn't abuse us, it doesn't take advantage of us, and it doesn't exploit us. That baby is a respectful baby. It's a baby that can be under our control. It's a baby that is clean, organized. It's a baby that doesn't cry all night and sleep all day. So it allows us to be stress-free. And it's a baby that once it grows up, it helps you contribute towards the bill, contributes towards the cleaning up of its room, and it's very respectful. That would be my hope.